Let's continue. Hilchos Chanukah and the Kitzur over here. We're up to Sif Hey. Sif Dalet. What oil do you use for your menorah? Says the Kitzur, Kol HaShemanim Ksherim L'Ner Chanukah. All your oil is kosher to Ner Chanukah. Mishnah Berurah points out, if an achbar, if a mouse fell into your oil, please do not use it, says the Mishnah Berurah, because it is ma'us. It is disgusting. I don't believe they make these types of oils that smell dreadful and disgusting. Mishnah Berurah as well says it is not good. It is interesting to note that Rav Elyashiv had a chumrah, and he said that the oil should be edible. Oil should be edible. And this is where a lot of people made a lot of money by writing on the bottle it's edible and therefore charging more money. They do say, and I'm not taking responsibility for this one, they say that all olive oils are edible. Whether they say do not eat or not, they say non-edible. Apparently it's for tax purposes. I don't know anything about this. I know what they say in Eretz Yisrael. I think it's the same thing here. I don't want to get into trouble. But the end of the day is all olive oil is fine, and you probably even get the chumrah of Rav Elyashiv to be edible. Mikol makom. Mitzvah min amuvchar lakacha shemen zayis. Olive oil. Why? Because that is the nes of the Beis HaMikdash, of course, was with shemen zayis. If you can't, take any oil that is zach v'naki, which is very important. You always want to have a beautiful, beautiful light. Oy neir shel shayva. You can even use a wax candle if you need. Why? Because they have a nice light. It should not be a medura, which means it should not have two wicks. Elikol ner yechidi. And it should not be made of wax of a avodah zarah house. I don't think that's so common. Misham demais. V'chein kol apsilos. All wicks are kosher. Mitzvah min amuvchar is lakachas semer gefen. Every night, do you need new wicks? The answer is no. You do not need new wicks every night. Rather, you're allowed to keep the same wicks and relight them. One more word about the wicks. They make wicks that are coated with wax. Comes along some of this far on this a sefer called Lahiris Nasa, and he says you shouldn't use it. Because what are you lighting? You're lighting wax. You're not lighting oil. So he says if you have those, you know what you should do? You should pour oil on top of the wax, which just means fill up the cup and put a drop on top. And then you're lighting the oil. That's what he says. Or light it beforehand. And then when you're lighting it, it's lighting the oil. L'maisa, Rosh Hashanah Zalman Auerbach was makel to use those wicks that all one has, but I guess there would be a lechatchila to light with the other types of wicks. And one of the reasons why we want shemen zayis, etc., and some say not to use congealed, is because you want it to be daimel beis hamikdash. This is a debatable point. And the most important is you want to have beautiful neiros. Hiddur mitzvah, which means, can you use the floating wicks? The answer is, do you know how to use the floating wicks? Some people know how to do them, and some people don't. I'll tell you, you probably can tell which camp I'm part of. If you're part of the camp that your floating wick capsizes every night, and every night you wonder, why is my menorah not lit? And I don't have to relight it, it's okay. Then you shouldn't be using floating wicks. If you're part of the camp that you know that precise height, how much to pull it up, and you're that guy in the shtibel that gets it perfect every time, then matayv menayim, light with the floating wick. Maybe there's a lechatchila to light with the other wicks. Rosh Shmuel Kamenetsky says there might even be another lechatchila to light with the pre-made cups, because he said those light the best. But of course, you're losing out on the hachana. You're losing out on preparing the menorah. If we're diamond to the Beis HaMikdash, you want to prepare it as much as possible. And unfortunately, let's be honest, how much is the menorah toss sometimes? You want home, light, boom, 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 we're done. So there's a very integral ingredient to prepare it, but don't lose out on the mitzvah for a mailun hachana. So that's the balance. You want to have the hachana, but you also want to have the mitzvah. We'll conclude with what he says over here. Do not immadlik menorah shel cheres. If your menorah is made out of cheres, pottery, once you light it one night, it becomes yashan, it becomes old, he says, and it's disgusting. You can't light with it again. I was just thinking, some of those kids type of menorahs they come home with, we all know by night number 3, we don't want to know what they look like, but the kid thinks it's beautiful. I think beauty's in the eye of the beholder. So I think the kid there still loves his menorah. Valkein, your menorah should be should make it of metal, he says, and if you could afford, you want to have a silver menorah. Why? Because of hiddur mitzvah, and that's the integral component. We want to make sure the menorah is as beautiful as possible. And b'siyata shemaya, Erev Chanukah tomorrow, we will continue.